God bless you. And again, my brothers and sisters, we welcome you to another broadcast of the Brinson Institute. The Brinson Institute. Welcome again. Thank you for those of you who continue to watch us the same time, same station, same place, same hour, every Wednesday around the 2 o'clock hour, from the 2 to 3 o'clock hour. And you have been with us. Some of you all catch us through our watch party, but we want to thank you and continually pray for us and Christ Family Network Radio that is good for your soul. So we're here on today, and we thank those of you that continues to call us and those of you that send a donation to support our work of the Hope Outreach Ministries. And if God has touched you in any kind of way to be a blessing to the total ministry and all of our various divisions, sometime from time to time, our information is on the screen. You can reach us by giving us a call, or either also by finding us on our website and go to the donation page and drop your donation in by PayPal, or you can find us through Zelle by using our telephone number. Well, we're glad again and so happy as we move into part two. Last week we talked about soul ties. We were on with soul ties on last week, and so we had a great time. We ran out of time because we said we was going to pick it up and do a part two on this week. And so this is where we are today, and I want to pick up where we left off, and as we start part two. But what I'm asking you to do, wherever you are, if you're watching us, if you would do us a favor and hit your share button. If you would hit your share button, that will help us and connect us with all of your people, and you can share it through your process. So hit your share button, and once you hit it and it goes to say something about this, just hit share now, and then we'll be connected to all of your people, and then we'll be happy to see what God is doing with us in this time. So we want to thank you for those of you that found it important to be a part of what we do, and I'm excited about how God is blessing us and everything that God is doing. Sometimes we look around our communities and we're looking at what's going on and what's happening around us, and we get all excited, and then we want to know what's going on, why things are not going our way. But it's because sometimes we have to put ourselves in the process to know that God is in control. And so because of that, we're just excited. And so we're just taking some time out to kind of do some homework and invite others to come in at this point. But we thank God for you that have tuned in with us. And so let us get on with our show. We are excited. So we talked about soul ties last week, and we defined soul ties as an emotional bond that moves us into relationships, something that is emotional bonds that attach themselves to us. Any emotional situation that you bond with that attaches itself to you and you become one with that is a soul tie. That is a soul tie, but it comes out of your emotions and it gets into your spirit. Out of your emotions into your spirit. Out of your emotions into your soul, into your spirit, and the reactions of your body, because we are tripartite. God created man out of the dust of the earth, breathed into him the breath of life. Man became a living soul. So it touches us in three areas. And our soulish realm, our mind, our will, and our emotions. And our spiritual realm, those things that are spiritual. We sense things through our spirit, and then we react also in our flesh or our body. So there's certain yearnings and things that we see and know and want that our body craves for. We call it the lust of the flesh. All that's in the world is the lust of the flesh. What the flesh do? The lust of the eye, our mind, will, and emotions, our soul, and the pride of life, our spirit. So all of that we bring to the table. So we talk about emotions. You can be emotional just from a physical But when you become emotional from a physical, it affects your soul. And so when you become a emotion from a soulish realm, it affects your physical and your spirit. If you become a tie related spirit to spirit, it affects your soul realm and it affects your flesh realm. So you cannot be tied or have a soul tied without it affecting your spirit person and your body or flesh person. And you tie all that together, and we call it the heart. The Bible talks about the heart. So we said now, so a soul tie is an emotional bonding that becomes an attachment to. It can either be good or evil. So the soul tie is not bad. The soul tie is an emotional attachment. Now, the type of attachment and the type of emotion can be either good or evil. It can be pure or nasty. It can be spiritually assigned from God, who is spirit, or it can be spiritual assigned from the enemy or Satan or the devil. And so therefore it can be pure and related to as God sent and God related. God relates to it. It could be out of worship in relation to God, or it could be demonic in spirit. So you have negative and positive influences both in the soulish realm of you, or in the spirit realm of you, or in your flesh nature, the right, the real, or the truth, or the perverted in the flesh. So when we tie it all in together, that's where soul ties come from. How they're made and how formed. Now, those of you, I'm sure you can Google and do other resources and researches about soul ties. We talked about it. If you missed it, then you need to go to part 1. Go back to our YouTube. Go on YouTube, our YouTube account where all of our teachings are, and pick up Understanding Soul Ties part 1. Listen to it, and then click on this part 2. Now, if you got this one and you didn't get the other one, then you need to go back and look at and view part 1. So this will segue into part 2. Part 2 is a part of what we left off in part 1. We want to today talk about, I want to do some Bible searching. I want to look at the Bible and some experiences in the Bible by the children of Israel and others in the Bible, and give an example or examples of soul ties. I want to look at the children of Israel and God working with the children of Israel. I want to look at certain other people in the Bible to see what kind of soul ties they had and developed. What kind of emotional bonds did they create? Remember, that's a choice. It's a choice, but there are situations where soul ties can be one-sided. A person can have a soul tie to you, but you not having a soul tie to them. And you end up finding yourself tied up in a certain kind of way, but that's not because you initiated. That's something they did, and then they hold you accountable, and you find yourself reacting. So in a sense, it's still you spending time on something you don't need to. So you need to begin to determine, do I have that kind of relationship? Somebody got a soul tie toward me. They have an emotional bond with me that was misread, that was not my intention, but they got it by. So how do I undo this? How do I undo a negative soul tie? You have to speak it, repent it, denounce it, let it go. But you got to identify it, then repent from it, and release it from you, and then let it go. All the operations and all the things of it, let it go. Some of us, because we're in a situation, we don't want to let it go. So you have your soul tie, which is negative. Okay, so now let's look at it. We talked about last week, we were using for a reference Dr. Dr. Cindy Trim's book on engagements, and I wanted the rules of engagement, so I wanted to give her the fact that some of our discussion came from her book, The Rules of Engagement, The Act of Strategic Prayer and Spiritual Warfare by Cindy Trim. You need to get this book. as you look in it, and that become better understanding of different types of spirits and situations in our lives. Now, soul ties come under the spirit of infinity, the spirit of infinity. And in this book, Dr. Cindy Trim, she talks about the spirit of infinity, and the spirit of infinity is really, and she talks about other kind of spirits, but the spirit falls into 5 categories. In the spirit, there are 5 categories. This spirit of infinity. 1, we said soul ties that we're talking about. Number 2, familiar spirits that works into family lines. Number 3, spirits of inheritance and generational curses or generational blessings. And then carnality, just to be carnal. And then unholy alliances, getting with dirty, nasty stuff. All of that comes under the spirit of infinity, and they play different roles. So we want to look at it. But today in our series, we've been dealing with, and last week, soul ties. So remember, soul ties are emotional bonds of attachment. And soul ties, even as I read from Dr. Trim's book, she says soul ties have the power to attract, unite, and create forces of connectiveness or covenants between 2 entities or individuals for the purpose of the reinforcement of divine or diabolical events. Divine events to help you move towards your purpose and destiny as God so wants you to do, or because something satanic or diabolical of the Satan comes to fight, steal, kill, and destroy. So you have to begin to understand that the diabolical intents distract you, derail you, keep you from fulfilling your purpose, and keep you from maximizing your potential, keep on falling short. It robs you of your innocence, your purity, your sincerity. It messes with your focus, and it also acts as a doorkeeper. It blocks other positive spirits coming into your life. It stands and it blocks out stuff. And so therefore we must understand that. So there are different other soul ties, such as a person having sex, sexuality, whether it's inside of marriage or outside of marriage, two become one. That brings into the soul tie nature, friendship, family, church, covering, mentorship, leadership. All of these operate at their maximum as soul ties. So remember that. And because of that, the enemy can destroy God-given relationships and twist and pervert those in order to fulfill the plans of the enemy. So therefore, satanic soul ties can happen through certain kinds of relationships. This is what Dr. Trim says in her book. Sexual partners, demonic influences, and organizations such as lodges, certain religious or cults, or I'm with the Masons, I'm with the Elks, I'm with the, you in a certain group, I'm Alpha Chi, Alpha Phi, Alpha Sigma, Gamma Rho, whatever the fraternity. All of those situations bring into soul ties. Whether they're good or bad, I'm not saying that if you're alpha or sorority or soror that is bad. I'm saying no, that's just an example of what soul ties and how soul ties work and operate. So now let's go back then and let's start kind of picking apart and having some sense as we go through. Cindy suggests one of the things I like about her particular book. She left some biblical examples of soul tie. So I wanted today to kind of talk about it, read from the Bible, kind of expound on it. One of the things that tickled me yesterday, I normally prepare ahead of time for our broadcast and teaching training. Branson, you know, I take time out and prepare. And normally I prepare 2 to 3 hours just for the hour show. So I prepared. Oh, I was reading, studying. I took me some notes. I was ready. And I walked out of the house this morning on my way to my Bible class, and it occurred to me I left my notes on the desk in my office at the house, at my office in my home. I have more than one office, but I have office. I left it on the desk in a folder of my notes. I'm like, boy. That's all right. That's all right. God knows what he's doing through my negligence or forgetfulness. So I pray that God will use my forgetfulness and help me as we go into this study and discussion. And that's something that I say to you that are watching and listening to me may be motivational and inspirational as you broaden your base to understand, based upon Sidney Trim's suggestions from the biblical piece of what soul ties look like, good, bad, or ugly. All right, let's start. Let's look at Numbers chapter 33 and verse 55. Numbers chapter 33 and verse 55. Now, listen to the text. But if ye will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I thought to do unto them. What is going on here? Well, if you look at it and go to Deuteronomy chapter 60, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. Let's look at it and see what it says as we try to tie in and how this affects us as we relate to soul ties. So I'm going through the scriptures like this because I had taken notes myself from it so I could just go down. But it's good. This gives you a chance to catch your breath while we look for it. So Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 63. Listen to what it says as related to the verse we just read. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest. Now, the reason why this has been said is because in Numbers chapter 34, as the children of Israel are getting ready to go into the land, they're going into the land God promised. God said, now when you go into the land, I want you to kill everybody out the land. Get rid of everybody out the land. I don't want you to set up no relationships. I don't want you to have no relationships. I don't want you to form no emotional bonds of attachment with the people in the area of what I'm giving you. Now, isn't that something? Sometimes God will send us someplace and he'll move us in an area that's new to us and say, now, when you go into this new area, get your new house or get your whatever, I do not want you to set up a relationship in this particular area because I'm giving you this area to inherit it, but I want you to move all the negative stuff and move everything out of that area, lose contact. I don't want you all in their face and all trying to be all nicey, developing an emotional bond which becomes a soul tie. I don't want you doing that. I want you to get them all out. Then I'm going to give you the land. Now, if you can't obey me, what's going to happen? If you let those people stay in the land and compromise, oh, it ain't going to be just 2 or 3. Well, they can stay on my team. But I said, no, they can't be on your team. You say, well, no, I like them. Okay, so what God says, if you don't obey me, then those people, you want to develop an emotional connection with them, which is going to become an emotional soul tie. And when you tie into them emotionally and have a soul tie, they're going to flip back, and all during the relationship, you're going to have issues. You're going to have issues. They shall be pricks in your eye and thorns in your sides, and they shall vex you in the land where you live. Isn't it frustrating? You made a choice. You made a choice and got connected with some folk. You made a choice and had an emotional bond connected with a person, a place, or a thing. And a result of that emotional bonding, it was not right. It was wrong. Whether you knew it or not, you made a discovery. But because of the relationship of how bonding works and soul tie works, now you are driven. in your spirit and your body or your flesh and also your soul, you got to be around that person, that place or thing. So it just becomes a part of you. And so God is saying, if you don't pull the people out the land, you're going to end up having relationships with them, getting close, marrying your sons and your daughters to those people. They're going to intermingle with you, and then you are going to become one. And it's going to be a negative influence. Remember, soul ties are also influential triggers and relationship, outside stimuli. Outside stimuli. So you have to remember what soul ties do. They can connect, rearrange, reorganize, and if they negatively get you off track. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so here in the text, he says, I need you to get rid of all these people in the land. And if you don't, they're going to get on your nerves. Some people are on your nerves right now. And no matter what you try to do, you can't shake them because you and them, both of y'all have developed a soul tie. Some of the relationships of your partners and stuff, you wasn't married, so you went into fornication and you were having sex with your significant other, and then when you broke it off, they snapped. And they want you. They hound you, both male and female. Oh, they hound you because inside of them, they develop an appetite emotionally to be connected with you. Whether you want to be with them or not, they have this emotional tie. And at any incident, they will try to get your attention by coming, participating in some kind of way because they want to be next to you. Isn't that something? Soul ties work like that. So you have to keep that in mind. So that's why God said, kill everybody out the land. I don't want you fraternizing with anybody. Don't have no new friends or nothing. Come in the land, take care of your business, and walk with the land and take your inheritance. So now let's look at Judges chapter 2, verse 3 as relates to that. You had a soul tie with the land. You had a soul tie with the land. So the land didn't jump up and shout. The land just made itself available. So now Moses is telling the children of Israel, Joshua is speaking to them saying, look, when you go into the land, don't have nothing to do with the people in the land. The sons don't marry the daughters in the land. Don't commingle our race. Don't do that. Don't do that. Put them all out. Put them all out. Now, one of the things that I was looking at when Joshua came on the scene and they went across the Jordan. Let's look at what happened, because some things took place that shouldn't have. They didn't obey the voice of the Lord. So in Judges, we go back to Judges, and it says that the land, that Moab and some of the land they seduced them, and they did not obey the voice of the Lord. They did not obey the voice of the Lord, and they did not get rid of everybody in the land like God told them to. He said, get rid of everybody in the land, and they didn't get rid of everybody in the land. They didn't. They kept some of the people. And what happened is they began to develop a soul tie with the people in the land. Emotionally related, they began, not only that, the sons began to marry the daughters and the daughters began to marry the sons. So now they have children and grandchildren. So they have tied in emotional things, that emotional bonding that now have become connective. What do you do with, you have a grandchild? My mom, I know my son, when I think got that girl pregnant, I don't care, blah, 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 I ain't gonna take care of it. As soon as that baby comes, you always, mama, do this, mama, this, blah, blah. And you didn't fell in love with the baby, and the son or the daughter can't even keep the baby because you got him. You got him or her. You didn't develop it. Don't mess with my grandchild. But I thought you said if he had a baby, you wasn't going to have nothing to do with it. Now you got him, fell in love. You got an emotional bond with that child. Now you develop a soul tie. Now, we're not talking about good or bad. We're talking about how it happens. How it happens. And so God said, I don't want you in the land. Kill everybody. So they developed a soul tie. And what happened? Those people became, they took Israel another kind of a way. Then they came back to the Lord and asked the Lord to remove them. And God said, if you study the book, the chapter, said, I'm not going to do it. I gave you a chance. I told you not to go up in the land. I told you don't get caught up with the land and involved with the people of the land. Some of you all disobey. I told you to go and take the land. It says, but Benjamin and them did not take all of the land. Benjamin and Judah did not take all the land because part of their land was Jerusalem. And it said later on, it says that the children of Israel lived together with the Jebusites. They could not overthrow the Jebusites because when they went into the land and God gave them the land, Benjamin and Judah were supposed to slay all of the Jebusites, kill out all the Jebusites, but they were some hard, rough people to kill out, so they just didn't kill them all out. So they didn't get the whole land purged, and so the Jebusites stayed. They developed a soul tie with them, emotional bond. Consequently, they didn't fight with them no more. They just let them exist. Isn't that something that sometimes you come in contact with people, places, and things that you know is wrong? They're not good for you. And you know they're not good for you. In fact, you had a feeling. It wasn't I had a feeling that everything's going to be all right. No, I have a feeling that this is not going to work. And you just stayed in it, but and after a while you find yourself tolerating it. Well, you find yourself explaining. Well, in order to know, see, you can't say that because in order to love them, you got to know them in order to love them. See, well, no, no, you got to let that go. Love them before, then as you love them and know them, then you'll be better off. So what we do, we take people, places, and things into our inner circle that shouldn't be, and we get used to it, we get adjusted to it. We have a bonding and a soul tie in our minds, and now we're jacked up and want to know, how can I get rid of this soul tie, and how did it get there? It got there through an opening of the mind, of your soul. And so that's how it's formed. So here the children of Israel, they couldn't get delivered. They had to live with the Jebusites for the rest of their life because they did not. They developed a soul tie. Achan, he said when they went to Jericho, he said, don't take nothing. Achan took some garments and hid it. He had a soul tie. He had an emotional attachment to that outfit. Now y'all know all branches. No, wait now. Some of you all, you saw an outfit at a store and you said, oh, I'm going to get that. And you left. You had enough money to get. You left. Said, I'm going to come back. And all that day, you thinking about that outfit. All that night, you thinking about outfit. Until you go get the outfit, you thinking about it. Or you went and got it. Now you're thinking about where you're going to wear it. What you going to do with it. All that's an example. Not the best example, but that's an example of a soul tie. A soul tie. So let's look. Okay, so they had a soul tie with the people of the land. Consequently, because of their soul tie, they didn't kill everybody in the land because they had relationships going. And so the people of the land turned around and turned on them and began to weary them in their little tactics and just life. Having sometime a person that you volunteered to be with, volunteered to let them into your inner circle, volunteered by choice to let them into your heart. And as people say, Apostle, they did me. They did me. And now my heart is wounded. And I don't know if I'll never have a friend. No. Because you shouldn't have had that from the beginning. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 13 and see what kind of soul tie this was. 2 Samuel chapter 13 verses 1 to 23. Okay, I'm going to read some of this. 2 Samuel. We said 2 Samuel chapter 13. Okay. Verses 1 to 22. So let's look at and see what that story is about. Now that story is about two things. Soul tie wise. emotional making choices will come there. Amnon in this story defiles Tamar. He wanted Tamar so bad. So he brought her in and he raped her. And then once he did it, he wouldn't have no more problems with him. He didn't want to have no problems with her. But we're going to talk about the soul tie. Negative people in your life. We also want to pause and say soul ties also has to do with influence. Soul ties are influence. They're influencers. If you have a soul tie with a person, you can influence that person, and that person can influence you. And while you blaming it on the devil, it's not even devil nor God. It's you or them being influenced through your flesh to know them, to share with them. That's a different thing of being a providential connect. You can have a soul tie with a person, they become your friend and their personality, and you're attracted to them, and because of your attraction to them, you become like them, or you somewhat similar to them, and you can go on with stuff that they create and sign off of some stuff as if they was the person that you had a soul tie, that you had a soul tie with was there. So let's look at it. So we want to look at that. But so what happened with the whole thing, the Amnon, he just couldn't, he fell in love with Tamar. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. He was just overpowered. He was overwhelmed. He had an emotional tie, an emotional bond with her that just was all over the place. And it came from his sexuality. But this is the other side of influence. While he had that, he had an uncle. Then let's look at it. It says, and Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister. Some kind of lust of a woman so much that when you see or think about it, you get sick. He fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Amnon thought it hard for him to say anything to her. He didn't want to say anything to her because she was a virgin. He was just over heels with him, up and down. And so, but Amnon, it said, but Amnon had a friend. Pay close to this in the text. Amnon had a friend. What it should be saying is Amnon had a soul tie. Now let's see why. It says, and Amnon had a friend, comma, whose name was Jonadab. Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimei, David's brother. So if Shimei, David's brother, had a son, David's brother Shimei had a son named Jonadab, and David's son Amnon was Amnon, so that means Jonadab and Amnon were cousins. Jonadab and Amnon were first cousins. Amnon was the son of David, and Jonadab was David's brother's son. So Jonadab was a nephew to David, and Amnon was Jonadab's cousin. All right? It says, and Jonadab was a very subtle man. He was slick Willie. He was evil. He was no good. That's what the text say. So Amnon has a cousin that ain't no good, that's Slick Willie, which is his friend. The text says that, but Amnon had a friend. Why couldn't the text say Amnon had a cousin? Because sometime in your family, you can be related to each other by blood or marriage, but not friends to each other. That's my ace boom coon homie, that's my cousin. Me and my cousin is two peas in a pot. We Mud and Jeff. We in it to win it. We all together, good, bad, and ugly. So you know you got a cousin or a brother or a sister. Y'all, put y'all together. We got to watch y'all. Y'all be into stuff. You know, so this was the situation between Amnon and Jonadab. Jonadab, according to scripture, 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 3, said Jonadab was his friend, and he was subtle, slick. And he said unto him, why art thou being the king's son, lean from day to day? So Jonadab asked his cousin, you the king's son, y'all eat the best food. Why are you losing weight? Why are you so skinny? Every day you look like you just losing weight. Come on, Amnon. And Amnon, he said, tell me what's wrong. Something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. Tell me what's wrong. And Amnon said to him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. I just love her. So he says, so Jonadab says he uses his influence because he's slick. So Jonadab, his cousin, said, well, lay down on your bed and play sick. Play like you sick. And when your father come to see you, say, what's right? I heard you were sick, saying to him, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat and dress the meat in my sight that I may see it and eat it at her hand. So he says, tell your daddy, play like you sick. The word gonna get out you sick, your daddy gonna come see you. And when the daddy comes see you, you're gonna play so sick, you need a nurse, you need somebody to cook for you and all that. So tell your daddy, well, you know, it'd be nice if you let my other cousin, your niece, your other niece, I need her to come, and I need some support system. I need care. I need somebody to take care of me right through in here. She's a good person. I like what she do. She know how to cook and all that. But I need her to be my caretaker, and I need her to be there because I'm sick. Let her cook for me so that I can eat of her and get my strength back. So David said, cool. So you want your sister to come and be a caretaker for you during this time while you sick? Okay, fine. But Jonadab, he knew what was going to happen. So Jonadab, being Slick Willie, used his influence as a friend with a soul tie to his cousin to give him some advice to get his sister Tamar in the room so he can make his move. And that's what happened. So here in the scripture, we see that you can have a negative soul tie as a friend in families that are subtle. You made a choice. You got a family member, you know they ain't no good. You know how they are, but you will hook up and y'all become real close friends. Y'all talk on the phone all the time, and one do one thing and the other do other thing, and then you all laugh and talk about it like it's all right, two peas in the pot, because of the soul tie you have developed with your cousin. They have influence over you, and you do what they say. So there's an example of a soul tie. Now let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11. We're going to look at 1 Kings chapter 11 and see if we can find an example of soul ties or the spirit of infinity and what that does. 1 Kings chapter 11. I wonder what that's all about. What's 1 Kings chapter 11 about? How does that fit into the spirit of infinity, to having a need to be related? And how do we look at soul ties as an emotional bonding that has become connected? Now let's see if it's good or bad. Let's see. Okay. 1 Kings chapter 11 verses 1 to 13. So what happens? God tells the children of Israel and his leadership, leave those foreign people alone. Don't have nothing to do with them. Don't marry. Don't set up no soul tie. Don't become intimate with those people, because if you do, they're going to turn your heart. And because you have developed a soul tie, you're going to do what they do. Think like they think. Eat what they eat. Then you're going to start worshiping their gods, and their God's going to turn your heart. You're going to develop a soul tie with them, but the negative side of the soul tie is they're going to win you over into their way of thinking. So here in 1 Kings chapter 11, Solomon, the wise man, said, God, give me wisdom to go in and out among the people. Let's see about his soul tie. It says, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Zidonians, and the Hittites. Now remember, see, we also talked about in the past about bloodline curse and DNA. If Solomon loved Zidonian women and had sex with Zidonian women, it was laid out in his DNA, because at the same time, over on the Israel side, when the nation was split, Ahab married a Zidonian woman, and her name was Jezebel. She was a Zidonian woman, Hittite woman. The Hittites, well, I guess he loved Hittite women because his mother was a Hittite. David had relationship with Bathsheba, who was a Hittite married to a Hittite. So Bathsheba was a Hittite. Hittites also had within their family line, they were good in the arts. They could sing and play instruments and write poetry and all that. You know, it talks about how many songs Solomon wrote. But those of us who study the biblical material and extra biblical material, it says that Solomon's mother, she wrote more psalms and hymns than he did. Wow. Wow, Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, her influence. And yet, but at the same time, what it says, of the nations, concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come into you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. It says Solomon clave unto these in love. Solomon clave unto strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. These women Solomon clave to in love. He had an emotional bonding. Emotional bonding, in some cases sexual bonding. He had emotional and sexual bonding, soul ties. He had an emotional bond of attachment with these women. It said, and he clave to them. He was attached to them. He was attached. It didn't say they was attached. He was, it says Solomon clave. Now I'm sure after he claved, they probably claved. I'm sure some women claved to him to make him clave. But howbeit, it says that Solomon developed an emotional bond of attachment by these women, that God told him to leave those nations alone. Look at it. And he had out of all these nations 700 wives, princesses. That means all 700 wives were princesses. Now come on. You a princess? You're not just an ordinary sister. You got clout. You come from upper family. So you got to throw down. You got to have some money. You got to have some prestige. You got to come through to impress me, because I'm a princess. 700 princess wives and 300 concubines. That's 1,000 sisters. Some of y'all can't deal with one. One old sister got you all jacked up, got you going. Solomon, I don't know. I had to take my hat off to him, but you know he the king. I don't even know how he got them separate. I don't know how he kept the Zidonians away from the Moabites. I don't know how he did. He had Moabite women in their culture, Ammonite women in their culture, and his Edomites women in their culture, and Zidonian women in their culture, and Hittite women in their culture. Going out, having dinner, having lunch, keeping them all. 700 of them were princesses, and 300 were concubines. Solomon, those kind of attachments. It says, for it came to pass when Solomon was old. So when he got old, they started rubbing his little bald head. He couldn't handle it now. Maybe he was doing good, but when he got old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect. His heart was not mature with the Lord, his God, as was the heart of David, his father. So when he got older, he thought he was about, our grandson, I got him in check. I got one over here and one over there, and I'm married to this one over here, and I got them in check. Okay, as you get older, how you gonna check them? So Solomon, if he had 700 wives and 300 concubines of all those women, in his wiseness, he was able to keep up with them. But when he got older, they turned his heart because he had an emotional bond. He had an emotional bond of attachment with those women, and they too with him. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcah, the abomination of the Amorites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then Solomon built in high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto his gods. Not only them gods, the main gods of the nation, to the others had their little side gods. And the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which he had appeared unto him twice. And he had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. God came to him twice, say, leave them women alone. It said, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Soul ties. And what happened? Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and I will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David's thy father's sake, but I'll take it out of thy hand. I'll rend the kingdom away from you, but will give you one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. So, because of a soul tie that was negative, the influence of all these women affected what? The next generation's purpose, destiny. Some of you all are being affected, are living out of DNA bloodline curses because of a soul tie of your parents or your grandparents or in your bloodline. Isn't that something? See how soul ties work? So you got to really take a look at soul ties, because soul ties are emotional bondings that attach themselves to you, and you get into an act. So we said an act becomes a habit becomes a lifestyle, and a lifestyle gets into your the way you do things, into your character protocols, and it gets into your DNA, which writes. And so therefore people are certain ways because of some decisions of their parents or their grandparents or themselves in a soul tie that was perverted or negative. And now you've inherited some of the stuff because of somebody's soul tie. You got me? Are you with me? Are you with me there? Okay, so there's an example. Okay, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 13. I hope this is helping you to understand the different types of soul ties that come into our lives. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verses 1 through 22. Now, what story is this? Very interesting. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verses 1 through 22. So, what happened? So, what happened was that Saul had got into a situation because they began to have relationships with the purpose of the land. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years, he went up to fight, and God was with him and everything. And but at the same time, he was supposed to kill everybody, and he didn't. He didn't kill all of the people, and so therefore it worked on them as a negative. It became a negative in their lives because the Benjamites did not, when they was taking the land earlier, did not get rid of everybody in the land. They had developed soul ties with people in the land. And so because of that, he did not do it. And not only that, the soul tie, we said soul ties are emotional relationships that affect us. So people can come into your life and you then start looking to them and you got an assignment and you in a position of leadership, but because you got an emotional tie with somebody in your downline, you listen to them and what they want you to do and not listen to God. And because out of that soul tie, you disobey God and God gets you. Okay, let's look at it. And Samuel said, and it came to pass, it says that that Samuel told him to wait. I'm going to do the offering. Now, you wait for me. I'm going to get there. But Samuel kind of took too long. And it said he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me, and a peace offering. And he offered the burnt offering. He was not supposed to do that. That was Samuel's responsibility. He was not authorized to make that move of worship. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what have you done? What did you do? What you doing? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days that appointed, then the Philistines was coming against me at Michmash. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. I forced myself. I knew I was not supposed to do it, but because of my relationship and the influences of my troops and some of the people that was with me that had influence, and some of them was leaving. You know what happens when you got people that you really like and they close to you, you try to do ministry, and they start leaving. And so what happens? Some of them leave because you're not doing what they want you to do. Instead of letting them go, you disobey God and rearrange your program to try to get them not to either to come back, or the other folks you know that they got influence on because they got some soul tie, they got influence. So you won't want them to influence. Well, I'm gone now. Sister Brown family, this family, if they hear about the Jones family leave, they're going to leave because they got this soul tie connection of influence. So what you do, you change your stuff to try to keep the others because the others have left. Do that sound familiar? Not only in the church, in the family, in the community, on your job. Soul ties. Emotional connections, connections by which people, places, and things attach themselves to, either good or bad. Okay. And said, therefore, he said, I forced myself. And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee, for now would the Lord have established thy kingdom. You're only 2 years old as a king. There's some rules and regulations. You a novice in your ministry. And I told you to wait for your spiritual dad or your spiritual mother. No, because of the people, because you connected with, because of who's in your ear, because who's got influence, because of your emotional connection of attachments to your denomination, your group, your people, your fellowship, your friends, your sorority, your neighborhood, your club, your little group. You disobeyed God. And he said, but you would have been established. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. Wow. He got disqualified in his second year of being a king. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart. And the Lord has commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. How many people have not obeyed God and not done what God told you to do because something about this soul tie situation got up into your relationship? You had an emotional attachment. you had an emotional connection with people, places, or things, and you didn't obey God because the soul tie that had you affected your soul, your mind, your will, and your emotions. You became one with the negative, or you became one with that which God did not call you to be. And so then the oneness of your connection drove you away from obeying God, and now you're in the place of disobedience because of a soul tie. What happened to Solomon? What happened to Saul? God said, you know what? I made you king over all the people, and you've been the king for 2 years, just about. But you know what? You disqualify yourself because of the nature of the soul connection, because of the nature of your emotions. You let your emotions get in the way of what I told you to do. You let your emotions get away of something connected. Who's in your emotions? People, places, or things. Who got up into your soul, affected your spirit, and now your body lusts, crave for certain things that is not of me, that fights your anointing, that comes against your isness, that jeopardize your purpose and destiny because you are tied in to another oneness. That oneness, that other thing that is tied into your spirit, into your soul, and now you're one that blocks you and all your intentions. That which I would do, I do not. That which is I do not, I need to do. So I've had to fight against the nature of my flesh and my spirit and my flesh man and my soul ties and what I'm connected to. And I'm not in obedience to God. So here's an example of a soul tie that you can get connected and get disconnected because you disobey God. So negative soul ties, demonic soul ties comes in to mess up and dismiss your purpose. God connects you with people, place, and things to move you in a soul tie relationship to his purpose. The heart of David was knit with the heart of Jonathan. Jonathan's heart was hit with David. That was a soul tie. God sends people in your life to be emotionally connected to, that moves you down the road of your purpose and destiny. While God sends that's a choice. Soul ties are choices. So while God sends that person, place, or thing into your life to move you into new dimensions in him, the enemy of your soul, your strong man, which is you, your stronghold, rather, as Dr. Prophet talks to us and reminds us in our other show, Prophet Loretta Pickett, your strong man, which is you and your thoughts. Your stronghold, which is you and your thoughts and in your mind. Fighting along with the strong man, which are outside influences that are negative, come together, jack you up, get you locked in, emotionally tied to a person, a place, or a thing, or a philosophy, and then connect you in, and before you know it, you off. You can't do it. You're not being obedient because you got an emotional tie. That's how it works. So we're going to move on, and we're going to segue. I just wanted to give you some. There are a lot of other scriptures about emotional ties, or we can go to other scriptures. So you need to go back in the Bible and read about relationships and how people get emotionally tied, both on the negative and the positive side. Emotionally connected. We said soul ties were the effects of our emotions being impacted and connected. We have an emotional bond with a person, place, or thing. In our soul, we have an emotional connection, which now moves into an attachment to or attachment of. And that's what soul ties are. Who are you attached to? What emotions got you attached to certain people? You got to have a pastor, an apostle, a leader. Are you attached to your leader? You attached to your wife, your family, your children. Some of you all went outside of marriage, you had sex with, you attached. You attached to the harlot. And so all of them things that they got, you got. That's why you have to worry about who you marry, who you relate to, because it all gets all enmeshed. Who you hang with, you pick up their spirits. So let's pray and ask God to give us wisdom as we move and navigate our relationships in life. And as we look at certain things, then we begin to understand the nature of our soul ties. And until next time, be blessed.